go home.
Okay.
Home or no?
So one of the hats I wear is bass trombonist hat. I might have mentioned this to some of you. I'm finishing up a doctorate in brass pedagogy. Bass trombone is my main squeeze. And I'm also in another graduate degree program here at the university. I am in the master's program for kinesiology, and I focus on neuromotor control. And basically my interest there is to learn more about how we as human beings, complex adaptive organisms, refine movements. Because when we play or when we sing, when we make music, we have to move our bodies to do so. So the more that we know about how to better do that, the better. So, but this is, called sound advice, because one of the things I wanted to look at today and kind of talk with you about is how sound is made, what we have to do to make sound, what we know about that, and therefore maybe some things that we haven't thought about as musicians per se, to make that easier to do, maybe to get more resonance and more sound production, to get a greater ease of sound in our playing. So hopefully this will be helpful. All right. Have you ever heard of the name Tesla? Not the band, but the scientist. Yeah, it's a great quote I like here. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And a lot of this talk is going to kind of hash out those verbose physics comments in very easy to understand music speak. So let's get to it. All right. So we'll go into physics land a little bit. Don't worry. I'll be gentle. What is sound? What is it? Vibration, wave. Yep. Good points for those answers. Anything else? No? Well, let's go with vibration or wave for now. Yeah, I think vibration is a good answer. Sound is just nothing more than vibration. There's another picture of vibration. That's actually a vibrating string that was taken with a high-speed camera lens. It's kind of cool. And it looks very similar to some other things that happen in the human body. For example, over here on the, I think it's, which button do I have to hit? This one? Yeah, this one over here. When they do EMG, that's electromyography readings, they basically measure electrical impulses in muscles. Has anyone ever been hooked up to an EMG? Yeah, it's kind of cool. You get to see all the, yeah. But it kind of looks like a bunch of vibrations. It's actually related as well. And then sound wave analysis, if any of you have ever used Adobe Audition, Pro Tools, Acid, SoundForge, any kind of audio editing program, has anyone ever kind of messed around with sounds? Yeah, so if you go in, zoom in, and zoom in, and zoom in on the file, you're going to get something that looks like that as well. This is all related, so we're going to hash that out a little bit. Okay, so what is vibration then? If sound is vibration, then what is vibration? Yep. Is that right? Were you?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Energy.
Energy. It's a great answer. It is energy. Yeah. Here's the way I like to explain it. It's displacement of energy. Have you ever seen these old things from the kind of you lift one ball and it pops the other ball, and you lift two, it pops two, yeah. So basically that's kind of a great way to think about it. If you think about it like molecules and stuff, it's just one molecule bumps another molecule and it makes that molecule move. And then that creates vibration, which we hear as sound when it happens fast enough and loud enough. Okay, so you've probably seen this picture in a science book in high school. Yeah, sine wave. It's kind of strange though, and I think unfortunately a lot of teachers did us a disservice because they take this picture and they talk about it, and the way that they talk about it, it's almost like, we're going to name this little red dot Mike. It's almost like, Mikey the molecule goes on a journey, and travels this way and travels that way, and kind of, that's like the path. It's like playing Candyland. It doesn't actually work like that. Mike stays right here and just goes like that, and then this is an example of what happens to all the molecules. So you kind of have to think about the picture in motion, and sometimes that's a little easier to get it that way. But whatever, we're not going to get too deep into it. But here's an example of vibration I wanted to play for you. I'll use my mousey mouse here. All right, go to this YouTube clip. I got a couple of great YouTube clips, and if you want, I can email you all the links and stuff. All right, has anyone ever seen Waltz of the Tulips? All right, David Finlayson is the second trombonist in the New York Philharmonic, and he had some fun with some very interesting camera angles. I know we're not all brass players, but it's essentially a similar concept. And this one is a little brass, but that's okay. There's David Finlayson. He's got big eyebrows.
Whoa.
Right up there. Okay. Now check this out. slow motion right now. But you can almost see that sine wave being drawn, right? Kind of Little Shop of Horrors, anybody?
Yeah.
Maybe you've seen it. Isn't that crazy? Anyone think that's weird? Alright, but I want to show a couple of these. Great production value. So you'll notice big opening, right? That's a low note. Lots of vibration, lots of amplitude. See how it's moving a little faster now? It's actually a high note. That's a higher note. See how it's moving faster? This is actually a lip slur moving up the overtone series. That's a really high note. That's not a high note. All right, so you get the idea, right? So if you want to go check that out more, you can find all sorts of examples of things like vibration, musical context. But really, our lips kind of move like this. For vocalists, it's the vocal folds, right? How many of us are reed players? What is it for the reed players? The reed that does it, but it's something that there's a displacement of energy by something. All right, I'd like to show you a live example now. I've asked Jean to join me as a helper, volunteer. I've got a prop. Remember these guys?
Yeah.
What's it called? Yeah, perfect. All right, you just hold one end. All right, a slinky. A key. All right, so now I'm going to displace some energy. Are you ready? See how it bounced back towards me? Yeah. Watch it. Follow its path. Ready? Watch. It bounces back towards me. See that? Yeah. That's a very important concept. A lot of people, and then we can do things like this where we can even get like overtones to happen. So here's 2, and then if I do 3, I think I do 3. There it is. Yeah. 3. See it? Yeah. So it's essentially the way that overtones work. But it's important to understand the concept of energy gets displaced out. Thank you, Gene. Thank you very much. Wonderful job. I see a bright future for you in slinky assisting, holding. Yeah. So energy moves out, energy comes back. That's what happens, all right? And a lot of people kind of forget and lose sight of that because they think it's just a wave that travels up and down. It's not actually how it happens. It's more in and out. Okay. Waves occurring within the universe are actually much more complex than like a single slinky. So I'm going to show you another one real quick here. Now this one, yeah, that's the one we want. All right. All right, so there's a bunch of salt on top of a square metal plate, and there's something underneath that's creating an oscillation. You can hear it. As the pitches change, it moves the salt around.
Salt's in the white, right?
Salt's the white, yeah. So as the pitch goes up, all of a sudden, watch what happens. We get to a new pitch. We actually get to a new note in the overtone series.
Oh.
And there's a phase shift where the salt gets bumped around too.
Oh God.
Yeah. So what's happening is that plate is vibrating, and in the middle of that vibration is a point where the salt just keeps getting knocked back and forth to hang out at until there's a phase shift to a new overtone. And it pretty much follows exactly the overtone series. I think it'd be great if they get to a certain frequency and then like Jesus' head pops out of it. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't.
Jason, it does create more and more intricate shapes.
It does.
If it gets lower, then it's more one.
Yep, and as frequency gets faster, it's lower amplitude and faster vibration, so the nodes happen sooner.
Yes,
Yeah. I won't get too far into the physics, but it gets kind of crazy. And if they cranked up the volume on that high-pitched squeal even more, the picture would be more defined, actually. All right, so you get a taste of that. So the waves that are happening when sound happens, they're enormously complex. And it's funny because this right here, we want to go to... That's a two-dimensional example. I feel like the slinky's kind of a one-dimensional example, and that vibrating plate's a two-dimensional example. Sound happens in 3 dimensions. You know, so think about that. It's even more complex than that. It's kind of crazy. Now, as things get more complex, here's an example of, you know, some measurement that can happen in, you know, experiments and stuff. But you can see that the waves that are happening, that's not a simple sine wave, right? Like there's some junk going on in this. Yeah, it gets complex. Now, we talked about how sound is displacement of energy, right? Okay. Well, there's kind of two ways to hash this out. There's energy that's going out, and there's energy coming back. And remember when we held the slinky, energy got displaced this way, what happened? It returned, right? So there's the energy going out, energy coming back. I like to think of that as Sir Isaac Newton's little law. Does anyone know the third law of motion?
Every reaction has equal and opposite reactions.
Yeah, for every action there's equal and opposite reaction. Give the man a Starburst.
Oh,
There you go.
yeah, she played.
Oh, all right, yeah, Liz, you want a Starburst?
I want 3. And
You want 3?
Jean held the slate.
There you go. Jean, you help us. There you go.
I'm getting old.
Okay. So Sir Isaac Newton didn't have highly fanciful measurement equipment, but yet had this idea that everything has an action and a reaction, and it's totally relates to sound. All right. So now let's talk about the sound that's coming back. Everyone talks about the sound going out. Let's talk about the sound coming back, because I actually think that's the secret to the universe. That's the secret as a musician to having a fantastic sound. Everyone thinks the sound going out. It's the sound coming back that matters. The sound coming back is also called a standing wave. Has anyone ever heard of the term standing wave? Yeah. Okay, so when it comes back, it's a standing wave. Great. So when energy moves, displaces stuff, and the standing wave comes back, and it lines up with the waves going out, guess what happens? Guess what that's called?
Okay.
Some people call it synchronicity. That's actually, you know, kind of true, but not really. Some people call it coordination. Kind of true, not really. Some people call it synergy. That's just a fancy word. It's, you know, but it kind of applies. Actually, it's called resonance, or sympathetic resonance. Nice job, Stan. Okay, the word resonance. Resonance is just when that energy going out and that energy come back lines up. Gene, would you be willing to help me once again?
Yeah.
I'll even give you a pink Starburst this time.
Wait, chuck it at it.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do the same exact thing. Watch what happens when I try to line up sending the energy out to the energy coming back. You almost didn't even see it. Try that one more time, right? It creates the fundamental frequency. But it gets huge with minimal effort. One hand washes the other. And the two sounds working together, it creates so much sound with minimal effort. That's what resonance is. When people want you to resonate more, this is what they want you to be doing. It's easy, and it has a better, richer, fuller sound. That's what we're all going for. It's the concept of resonance that is really what matters. The energy going out and the energy coming back line up. Thank you, Gene. Here you go. There you go. Okay. So now, check this out, all right? You might have seen this one, you might not have seen this one.
Yeah.
You kids and your technology. Okay, so here we go. So check this out. Twice the group of lots. All right, so here we have a pool. And on one of the sides of the pool, it's basically a big arm that they can move like this. All right, and they can move it at certain frequencies. So you can see there's little waves in the water. But you see how it kind of kicked down over there and now it's sending energy out? So the energy is getting sent out. And what they're going to do is they're going to make it line up with the sound going back the other way so that we get what that resonance. And you can see if you look at the side of the pool, it kind of looks like a sine wave. Yeah. But you see how much more energy just kind of kicks in when it magically lines up? It's like unlocking the portal to Stargate. It's just like, bam. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So as this way, as the molecules here bump this way, splash, go back the other way. It just lines right up. So that's kind of a physical example of resonance. You want to keep watching?
Yeah.
It's like they're bending water. But it's all because the energy getting sent out is lining up perfectly with the energy coming in. In the sake of time, I'll let you find this later.
Do they turn off the wave at the end and it will just continue with the energy to sustain itself?
It will lose energy because forces like gravity are affecting,
Yeah.
but it's amazing how long it just continues if you're dealing with resonance. And like the tighter and truer the resonance is at the beginning, the longer it can sustain itself.
Now it's going to the session.
You can check that out later if you want. I'll email you all the links and stuff like that. All right, so that's an example of resonance or sympathetic resonance, okay? So what resonates sympathetically? For strings, where does that standing wave happen? Where do you think it happens?
In the air.
In the body of their instruments.
Why?
So when they pull the bow, somebody wants to start. In the body of the instrument, so as the bow goes across the string and it moves the string in actually an elliptical pattern, there is energy that's sent out into the room and there's energy that's sent back into the body of the instrument. And so that's why instruments that have been played longer, and instruments that have been more well maintained, and instruments that were made with certain woods and by certain makers have a different sound. And they're all looking for that, you know, $3 million cello because it's got this beautiful resonance. And then you have to play it well, of course. All right, we'll skip the videos for now, but you can, you know, you can actually see all sorts of experimental stuff where they show you the waves happening on drums. Where does it happen in the drum? Big timpani drum. It's in the body of the drum, right? That's where the standing wave happens. All right. Well, what about for reed players, vocalists, brass players? It's in your body. Yeah, it's your body. Our bodies. Vibrates on the reed. Yeah, so there's energy that gets displaced out in that direction. And then there's energy that goes. So, it's a little different for flute, but are there any flute players here? Talk me up. Okay. How powerful can resonance be? Really powerful. I'll show you real quick.
Can I ask a question while it's loaded?
Yeah.
Do you mind?
Go for it.
So, different instruments, some instruments don't present a sine wave. The wave is more like a square or whatnot. Does that affect the resonance at all? It's just the way it's presented. Does that make sense? Like woodwind instruments, it's more like a square.
Like they're missing certain overtones of sawtooth.
I always wondered,
Well, that's why it affects the timbre, which is why an oboe sounds like an oboe. But the concept of resonance applies the same way for their vibration and their displacement.
Thank you.
Okay, so this bridge was constructed. A long time, it was in the 50s or something like that. This is in Tacoma, Washington. It's called the Tacoma Narrow Bridge. And one day, it was not the greatest wind speed that ever recorded by that bridge. It just, for some reason, turned out to be a steady 42 miles an hour. And for some reason, this bridge's natural oscillation frequency was achieved at roughly 42 miles an hour. So you can imagine if it had been fed 42 miles an hour winds all day long, it's essentially pulling a big bow over a big string. So watch what happens. Engineers have used this information to construct better bridges. But even on a calm day, you could be driving on one side of the bridge and the other side would go out of view because the bridge would move that much, and that's on a regular day. But it's because resonance was achieved. Does that make sense? Everything has a sine wave, that part that just stays stationary while everything else moves. You see it? So theoretically, the best place to walk on a wobbling bridge like that would be the center. I don't know if that will help you. The more you know. So here's the do what you got. So needless to say, people stopped driving on the bridge that day. The dog was unfortunately too scared to come out of the vehicle. It was the only fatality of the day. So it totally fell apart. It totally crashed. I mean, you can see it coming as it just kept getting more and more oscillation. So engineers have used this information to construct better bridges, obviously. We can use this information. Oh, sorry, yeah.
Sorry to ask, it's kind of fascinating, because they do build suspension bridges to withstand motion like that, but it's really the asphalt and the structure underneath that wasn't built to flex, not necessarily the, just the exact, that they hit the fundamental.
They just hit the mass of the object, with a ratio and proportion over the length of the object, has a certain, they won the lottery, with constructing a bridge, and there happened to be a day that lined it up perfect. If it was 43.4 miles an hour winds, it wouldn't have been enough to make it so severe of damage. Because once you hit that magic frequency that creates resonance, things just take off and exponentially grow, and it's the same amount of energy being expended.
What was the bridge made out of?
Mainly steel. It was a real bridge. There was no joke on that one. But it just happens. Bridges happen. So let's talk about ways. So how can we use this information? How can we use this information for us? How can we achieve resonance in our own life? All right, this is the part that's applicable to us. Physics lessons over. Let's talk about what we can do. The way I think about it is there are essentially three components. Ease. Have you heard the word ease? To make things easy, to play with ease. Has anyone said that to you yet? Yeah? Anyone have a lesson with Jeff Nelson? You done any ease with ease yet? You might play some ease with ease. The note E, ease with ease. There's also elongation. A lot of times when we play our instruments weight us down in some way, or our posture is affected in some way. You'll notice, for example, with a bass trombone, it is a front-loaded instrument. The weight of the instrument is on the front, so it pulls my body towards the front. And it is on the left side, or your right side, if you will, of my body, so things are weighted a little towards the right. Because of that, my muscles and bones and posture gets affected, and there's all sorts of compensation that comes out of the body. If one of the things that happens is if I get shorter when I play, that's going to affect my resonance. All right, so elongation becomes an important concept. But of course, we don't want to take it to too much of an extreme because we have to keep the ease factor in mind. And then efficiency. I think it kind of ties all this all together. So you can't blow off one of them. If you're trying to be elongated as much as possible to the point of strain, you're not using ease, and you're definitely not using efficiency. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you try to find the best of those three worlds for your Triforce of power.